Hi, I'm Julie Meyer, CEO of VIVA Investment Partners, and I'm really glad to introduce to you Tal Elyashiv, the managing partner and founder of Spice VC, who's here with me today in Zurich. Tal, good to see you again. Wow, a lot has happened. Here we are at the beginning of March. Tell us about where we are in the process now of building Spice, and again, from the concept to the kind of, as you chart the milestones.
So Spice did our first closing second quarter of 2018, and we went ahead and started making investments. We made 14 investments since then. Portfolio has grown quite nicely in value over the last year and a half as we were making investments. In fact, our investors from the first closing, most of them made around 65% already on the portfolio, which is quite unusual for the first 2-3 years in VC investments. And we're now doing the second closing for Spice. The funds go into the same bucket, so it's the same fund. And looking to significantly scale up the fund and the portfolio as a result of that.
Excellent. And VIVA Investment Partners has joined forces with Spice?
Yes, and we're very happy about that. We are expanding our reach, obviously. We now have a location in Switzerland in addition to the US location and the Israeli location. And Renee Eichenberger joined our fund as a partner and joined the board of Spice, and we're very happy about that. Renee has tremendous experience in creating and building large-scale funds of billions of dollars, and we're really, really pleased about this relationship now.
And he's been at the start of many industries and the beginning of major megatrends, so I think the combination is going to be quite powerful. And as you look at going forward now into 2020 and beyond, how are you seeing this dance between the challengers and the incumbents? Are you investing in disruptive companies? Or are you investing in enablers? And the dance with the main market, how do you see that shaking down?
So it's really very interesting. When we started investing 2 years ago, the industry almost didn't exist yet. So we were very, very careful in making our picks. And as a strategy, we invest in what we perceive to be companies producing the picks and shovels of the industry. It's an industry that is growing from 0 2 years ago to hundreds of trillions of dollars in 10 years. And what we're looking at is investing in the growth of the industry, and this is why we invest in picks and shovels rather than making very specific business bets at this point. It's early in the life of the industry, but the interesting transition we've seen over the last year is the first 2 years we've seen mostly players that are smaller and less from the institutional grade investment community moving into this industry. What we've seen over the last year is significant move of very large banks and financial institutions into this industry. We can mention names, but the list would be very, very long. But anywhere from Nomura Securities, HSBC, Fidelity, Barclays, and many other players are moving into this industry, investing in ecosystem players, developing their own capabilities in the digital securities industry and in the tokenization industry in general. So we've seen a move from kind of very early adopters playing in this industry to big boys, more established players playing in this industry. And as a result, a lot of the ecosystem is graduating to kind of more institutional level type of ecosystem. And it expanded significantly what we can invest in, both because there are way more players, because there's much more to close in terms of gaps in the ecosystem, and also because some traditional players are also moving into the ecosystem, not just new players. So it creates a very, very interesting environment for us to invest in, and it's really timely in terms of us increasing the fund and having more funds to invest in new ventures and participate also in the second wave of growth in this industry.
You've done a lot with a relatively good-sized amount of money, but you've done a lot. You made a decision to grow is 14 companies that you've invested in, and as you grow now to 100 million under management, what do you anticipate the size will be? What do how does that portfolio look different, and so forth?
So we focus mainly on the post-seed, pre-Series A stage in the life of companies. So typically we expect companies already to have product, service, team already in place and some traction in the market. This will allow us obviously to increase the size of each of our investments in companies. We expect to see something like 25 to 30 investments in the portfolio within this fund, and some of the investments we expect to lead, some of them perhaps not, but have a decent size in terms of equity in the companies we invest in.
Okay, and it's a kind of de-risked moment. You know, some of what you've accomplished over the past 2 years significantly de-risks it for the investors coming in now. That's right. What are the risks of? I mean, this is not an industry which is going to not happen or collapse, but there's obviously things that you could do wrong. But where are the real risks and the pitfalls and the potholes that you're trying to still watch out for, or is it just like the internet in '96?
So it's very interesting. So first, you're absolutely right. A lot of risk was taken away out of the equation over the last 2 years, because when we started investing in this industry 2 years ago, a lot of it was our vision to the future, and there were signs, but not an established industry. We see much more of established industry, and we have significant participation from institutional investors, large banks and financial institutions today all over the world. So a lot of the risk around, is this really going to happen, went away. It is going to happen. I think the question is now, at what pace, where, how will regulation impact that, where would be more accelerated, and so on, and which parts of the industry are right to invest in now, which ones we should wait until we see more of the direction. So there's always a risk involved in VC investment, but I think the main risk that has remained now is it's an industry that is developing much faster than we've seen in the past. If we look at the internet as a reference, the internet industry, it's not done developing yet, but if we look at our current stage with the internet industry, it took about 45 years to get here. This industry is growing over the next 10 years at a much accelerated pace, and it's a much more regulated industry, financial industry, than the internet was during its growth. And so it is different in that sense. Making choices in this industry is harder, and this is why we're here, to help make those choices. We come from within this industry. We were in there from the beginning. We have the scars on our backs from doing a lot of the things ourselves very early on in the industry. So we believe we understand the industry, and we can make good choices, as we believe our portfolio so far proves with its growth. And we expect to continue making these kind of choices. I think it's a great way for investors to get into the industry, first because they can ride on partially existing portfolio already and extrapolate from that. But also it's a great way to learn this fast-moving industry until investors are comfortable, and then they can choose to co-invest or invest directly on their own when they feel comfortable with the industry.
So as a final question here, for investors who will be watching this, what is a minimum investment amount if they're interested in participating?
So the minimum investment amount in SPICE is $250,000. We're looking to hopefully close the current investment round within the next few months.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you very much, Tal.
Thank you, Julie.